Hey all, this and is finally welcome you back to Final Fantasy VII. Let's try and find the file, shall we? I forgot, is it on the night that I have it? Or that's the Venom Snake run. That's X-Soldier run. It's not that. There's the Limit Break run. Is that a final save, the Limit Break? Because we did get further than that on the Limit Break run. That seems odd. What happened to Limit Break? I know we did continue that run, but what happened to the rest? Did I write over Limit Break? Maybe we did. Because this is clearly not a Limit Break. Just to see again. That was just part of a speedrunning thing, I think, that I did. It's about one of the cave, and that's the continuing fight. 1199 ground, okay. There's one more Grinspots. Is this where it is? Yeah, so that's the one that can grinding in train. Kina headquarters, Mithril Mine, 1199 ground Unon E, which is basically the Unon in grind, which is this. Reactor 1, okay. So this file, 32. Is my progress, right? Yeah. And that's the number 5 reactor. And I have a bunch of files there, depending on how many reactor 5 saves I'm gonna have. But the goal is to get to, right, yeah. Save 3 should just be regular ones. Yeah, that's just that one. That's the furthest file I have right with my name. Spoilers. Because these are also... But that's the end of disc 2, I think. Yeah, that's the high one at the end of disc 2. And then this is disc 3 here. But the one not in cave there. So that's the latest one. But I'm grinding the max stats. So let's go Reactor 1. Level 32. Very certain there's no later than that. Because this is of course later grinds here. There's the train graveyard grinding, in headquarters grinding, Unon in and stuff that's here. So let's go. Number 1 reactor, level 32. So deactivating counters first. That's 30. Here is the space, right? Yeah. There's the space. But then we already have level 3 limit breaks. Yeah. And yeah, no chance of running out of ethers, but we run with that on. Yeah. We are running battle speed fast. Active. As well, yeah. Oh. And here's the thing, right? When we're doing this, right? So the goal of this is not to reach level 99. Technically, the goal is actually used to see like how far can we get. How far can we get in the maximum time of like the 99 hours? What is it? 59 minutes. what's the maximum time in the game, unless they have increased it. Now there's a run I'm thinking about doing also, by the way, because I know that I've left a lot of runs unfinished. I mean, we have killed the final boss, but we haven't like done the rest of the stuff that we can do. I mean, the reason why we're doing the Olympic, you might say that, oh, that makes it not legit. Which, sure, you could say it that way, but this is like to try and maximize stuff as much as possible. This is, of course, only doable in the games that does have the boosters. But we're, of course, not using the other stuff, right? You know, which isn't in the game, right, even. Right, because in this, they didn't do the whole Final Fantasy 9 thing, because in Final Fantasy 9, of course, you can do the whole, max out, like up here and whatever, right? Because imagine if you just click the button and then every material became mastered, or something like that, imagine that, right? It would still be a nice thing if they would add more stuff, and stuff that, I definitely don't think that the ultimate version of Final Fantasy VII exists yet. Because here's the thing, right? Yes, how Square Enix could make a shit ton of money. They could make Final Fantasy VII again, but it doesn't necessarily need to be original graphics, right? What they could do, basically, is something that I've said before. Like, because remember, right, when they showed that trailer or whatever to show up graphics, and it was like in PS2 graphics quality, and then when they did that intro for Final Fantasy VII, like the fake remake intro, and I think it was done in PS3 graphics, yeah? Imagine that, right? Like a Final Fantasy VII, but with 10's graphic engine. And I know that, yes, you don't save a lot of data from back then and stuff that, but I'm pretty certain that an AI today could somehow recreate the Final Fantasy X engine. Because imagine using the Final Fantasy X engine and then making Final Fantasy VII in that engine and stuff that, And it would probably not be a massive budget either, right, because of old graphics and stuff that, The same thing, right, like imagine if they made a Final Fantasy that had a graphical quality of like Final Fantasy 13, 13.2, like 13.3 and stuff that, Imagine that, right, But even if they just want to expand the original Final Fantasy VII, right, like even with the original graphics, right, there's also like so much stuff they could add. Like they could add like playable sack or sack being unlockable, Sephiroth being unlockable. They could add like prologue stuff. Like they could even add, like they could technically add like Crisis Core stuff, but in Final Fantasy VII's combat system, because imagine all of Crisis Core be playable, but in the Final Fantasy VII style instead, So 98, I think, is the absolute highest encounter you can get here, actually. I think 98 is highest in the first reactor. And the thing is, yes, it takes a lot right now already, and stuff that, What is a magic? Ice to Bolt 2? Yes, nothing, of course. That has nothing. But already now at this level, yeah. Claude is actually crazy with his growth, really, all things considered and stuff that, And here's the thing that's going to be really interesting with this is once we max out the timer, we're actually going to be doing let's play of these things, and stuff that's right. But I will stick with whatever equipment they had when we do the grind, basically. So for example, on this, I would stick with the default equipment on all the characters, pretty much. and stuff that, right? Because, you know, well, I mean, with a bunch of ethers also, we are gonna have a lot of cash eventually as well, you know. I mean, yes, even though I'm just gonna be using the equipment I have here and stuff that, you know. The thing is that we'll be allowed to get more material, of course, obviously. I think. We'll see, you know. Because it depends on how people want me to do the run, right? Because, you know, because I know otherwise if I just get whatever black weapon is the strongest, you know, then that's shameless or not. And I'm pretty certain that if both these characters reach level 99, then I'm pretty certain that Tifa and all the other party members will start at level 99 as well. But it's very close to level 32 now. And eventually, of course, we will technically... I'm pretty certain that we will actually get more material, right? Except we cannot equip it right. I don't think we can, right? Nah. Like we can go in on equipment, but we cannot press the thing to you know, gain. Like we don't have the material here yet. I picked up restore, by the way. I forgot if we have picked up restore already. Because material does not unlock until after the first. Right. I kind of wish also, for example, they could have had like a material unlock also be tied to a certain level. So reach a certain level in the first reactor and then material will unlock. I'm actually gonna go check because I don't know if we picked up restore material or not here. Oh, you don't want to go too far here. Yeah, we already picked up restore material. Use double checking, you know, use double checking. Use double checking, you know, which is very important to do sometimes. Because we are gonna make at least one. We're gonna have one extra lighting material and one extra, you know, for the other material. I'm pretty certain. What is it? Level 50 at least we're going to be before it's 99 hours. No. But theoretically, right, why don't people do so that the final battle is with the Guard Scorpion? That makes absolutely no sense in my opinion, because what is it? The Guard Scorpion is what is it? Pretty certain that is more than 90 experience, right? It's 100, what is it, 110, 120 I think it is for Guard Scorpion. Yeah, sugar-free all the, you know, monster, like your original green monster flavor. Very good vanilla taste, you know. I do love this monster, and it feels nice to have it. You know, sometimes. I mean, that would be my dream if I would ever get a sponsorship with anything, right? I would take like Monster Black Area any day or the thing, you know. Because I would love to get a monster fridge just stacked with monsters, you know, and then have something special on the card where it's like, oh yeah, you pay very, very little for each monster and stuff like that, right, you know. And then you just have a fridge full of monsters, you know, and stuff like that, you know. Primitive, yo. But yeah, but imagine like the material smuggling, right? I'm pretty certain that they were a way to do it in the console version and stuff like that because I'm just like at this point just add some of the PC stuff to the console version because I mean here's the thing about the material smuggling, why is it so good? You can material smuggle like yes you can material smuggle the separate material, I'm pretty certain, even though you normally cannot take them. Now you can also material smuggle Claude's primitive. And like primitive early on is very good because what is it? Disc 2, right, for primitive. I'm pretty certain you have to be disc 2 for primitive. I don't think 2 is so wait till I get it disc 1. Other than the material smuggling, of course. And obviously, right, like, of course, if equipment smuggling could be a thing, that would have been insane. Damn, Barrett, you are slapping right now. Okay, Barrett is maxing Claude safe, but Gatling gun is worse. I mean, technically it's more attack percent, because attack percent is also crit and stuff that, you know. So, and I mean, I know that eventually you reach a point where it's like, what is it, 6 hours for a level, I think it is. Something you reach eventually. Which is why then, for example, like recording becomes really important. Because if this is all the music you hear, you know, all the time, you know, then it's not, you know. But the thing that I'm curious is, how much does the boost mood help? But keep in mind that I didn't do this grind only here. I tried out a bunch of different places, so I have wasted some time and stuff that. Of course, would I love to do the level 99 grind on the first spin? Yes. But I don't know if technically, if we exit out of this game, for example, is there a way to continue on where I left off? Is there a way to like close down the game and then resume the game? Because if you could do that on the PS5, then that would be incredible. Because I know you can do that in Gran Turismo, in the like the endurance races and stuff that. Gran Turismo 7, you know, so, you know, that would be cool. They might say, will it be that much faster? Yes, it will be, and stuff that, you know. Now the question is though, for example, like, let's say I would like at this point like attack 3 times. Or whatever. I'm just going to show you the difference here. Right, Claude is going to get to use finishing touch as well here. Or at least Meteor Ray. Set it to memory, right? Yeah. Now I'm pretty certain you can just hold down X. No, not this. You see, this is normally how long it will take here through the battle. I want to show a better example here. If I use mash. Okay. So this is a good example here. That is normally the length it takes. So you kind of learn the difference there. But of course, if we are level 99, by the way, if we are level 99, by the way, for example, when doing the the gold stars on this one, then we can definitely get Omni Slash like this one. I'm curious on how powerful we could get with the default equipment though. Because once we get morph materia, because of how strong our characters are, maybe we can morph already the Gongaga thing. Because the Gongaga thing is an early power morph. You can also morph the things outside the Nibel reactor, the screamers, with the ball and chain enemy there. I will eventually change color as well, maybe at level 40-ish. Now. I don't know, so if there were an alternative way to get like Omni Slash and all the final ones, like get enough kills and stuff that, like, because here's the thing, right? Why would an alternative way be cool? Because then, for example, then grinding the first reactor would be rewarding because you will be getting a lot of kills with Barret, and I forget how many kills you will get, right? To get level 99 technically, you know? Because I know, right, that it's not 60,000 encounters. 60,000 is if you do the first screen, because the first screen is used so much less XP. The very first screen and stuff that, but yeah. I kind of wish though that when you enter and leave that first screen, I kind of wish they added a save point there. That they just coded in, just put plop down a save point there and stuff that, you know. It's just because that would use that amount of content, and that would probably make a lot of people willing to stream it. Like, oh, now we have like a you know, like a thing, you know. And depending on how far we are level wise, right? Because I think it's what, is it level 75? I forgot what level you're halfway through. I think it's something like level 70 or something like that before you're halfway to level 99. It's crazy, you know. Curious though, like how high can our level get in like 1 hour and stuff that, you know. Now you might say use the escape if it's not the correct battle, you know, and stuff that, and that is something, you know, also to consider as well. And yeah, the best fight is of course the 3 flowers and what is the 2 calls, so 3, 4, 5. This counter. And eventually this will become a course, Ice 3, Bolt 3. Because here's the thing, that his original Gatling gun looks so much different than how it does in the remake, for example. Like, I don't hate the remake design action on the weapons, that is actually something that is very, very good. But the hard edge doesn't feel like the hard edge. And will I say that they went too far? Like, I love the way the hard edge looks now because it's way bigger. But the hard edge I always felt was more to be like a club, like a blunt style sword. That was the whole purpose, that it was basically like a club, like an enforcer weapon, is what hard edge is. And I'm guessing because it's hard, you know, it's on hard edge, you know, and stuff like that. I'm curious what the weapons are called technically in Japanese and what their names actually mean. Because imagine if you actually got a correct translation of the game, or whatever, right? Like a proper translation and not done by like Voc activist or something like that, you know. You can also see how insane Barrett's health growth is. But keep in mind, of course, that Claude is losing a bit of HP. What is it? I think you're losing 4% HP, right? From the two materials, I think. I'm also curious then what stats. Because how do the stats work when you level 99? Do the characters start with the maximum stat that they could possibly have? Right? Or do their stat goals get randomized? Like, can you high roll Tifa, for example? Because I know the Tifa has very, very high strength, but yeah, but Barrett has crazy strength, of course, which is what makes Angemax so insane. Because keep in mind that this Angemax here, yeah, 253 damage, stuff that, and what is it? Angemax is the most hitting limit break in the game, right? Or not really. Howand is the most damaging one because that has the most amount of hit and the most amount of power scaling. Meteorrain hitting for 400. So why is Meteorrain alright? Because Meteorrain is a more powerful move than Angemax is. That is why Angemax is pretty weak sauce with the hits. They don't even do default damage, I don't think. Yeah, 98 is the best encounter here. Of course, it's gonna take a lot to master the blockading like Ice 3 and stuff that, you know. I think what is it? I think it's 10, right? 10 AP. I'm curious what the best encounter give. This is not of course the best one. That gives you 7, for example, and that's used with 1 flower and 2 rounds. Not the best encounter, but the second best. Second best is how much? That's 10, okay, so it's, I think it's 12 the best encounter. So 10 encounters are 120 AP. Yeah, 10 encounters 120 AP. And the encounters will be 1200. And eventually, right, what you might want to actually do is turn down the battle speed all the way to the bottom once our characters are high enough level. Because here's the thing, right, my dexterity is 32 or 30. Dexterity is of course the speed. The characters is very important. How much? Only 1700, okay, so. Because it's almost 100 every single time we get the best encounter. Was it 12 from that? I need to pay attention when it's that encounter. That's the correct one. Correct encounter. It is 13 points, okay, so it will be under 30 for 10 encounters. 1300 from 100 encounters. Of course, in Final Fantasy VIII you can use hold down the button, by the way. In Final Fantasy VIII. I still want to continue on the sharing stuff there, you know, the where we get black, where we're not allowed to black level up and whatever, you know, and stuff else, right? That challenge. But we need to avoid it whenever possible, basically, to gain levels. Right, which is why we need like to get break and stuff that, like we need like the ability to stone enemies or cold enemies. because when you call them right, they give no XP to the enemies, right? When you call them, pretty certain. Of course, I don't know if card technically gets affected by luck materia if you get a luck junction, if that does affect it, you know. You're having watching Seppi and stuff like that, you know, like he's like really funny. The crazy thing is his accent doesn't sound Australian, you know, and stuff like that, which is pretty insane. Like he's very good with voice acting, you know, and stuff like that, you know. I mean, I can understand why they go after him and stuff like that, right? Because, you know, because they're all like crazy Final Fantasy VII fans, and that's just because like the Vogue stuff like makes people aggressive and make them like feel like personal. Like the Vogue people see everything as a personal attack or whatever. Oh, the remakes must be the best thing ever, you know, and stuff like that. And no, it cannot be wrong because I love the original game so much. And then it's like because of that, it's like they think the game belongs to them or whatever, right? The Vogue people, you know, not just every guy, you know, and stuff like that. But yeah, but they are the fans, right? You know, because yeah. Because there were mistakes that remake did and stuff that, you know, and there's no reason it wouldn't need to be 3 games. That's just something they tricked people into. Though the games are so large, yes. And probably the initial game would have taken longer, right, if they would have put all 3 games into it. But it is just so much extra stuff. And so you might say that, oh yes, that's very nice with all the extra stuff. And so it is. But there's a bunch of things that they could have like trimmed out that wouldn't have been necessary and stuff there, because they kind of ruin a bit, like climbing up to the plate. Doesn't feel as epic like climbing up to Shinra building. But because it's pretty funny that the old thing felt like way more epic than the other thing, and yes, they drag out things. In like the remake and stuff that they dragged out things and stuff like that, and you know I am you know getting trophies for the PS5 version, which I haven't finished yet, and stuff that, like I finished the PS4 version of course and stuff that, but you know when they added like the booster things, you know, that makes things very interesting, and I am guessing that could make some very interesting speedruns actually of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Because you can just make it so that you deal max damage, so that you deal like 9,099 damage, or whatever it is, I think it is that you deal. Stuff that, you know. Which, I mean, there are bad things about that, because you might kill something before you can steal it from them, which is really bad, you know, and stuff that when it happens. But even if you don't want to do like 99 damage, you can also have infinite limit breaks. Now, as long as you don't use the AP thing that just gives you maximum materia, basically, as long as you don't use that, you can still get trophies and stuff that, and this is interesting. And stuff that, but of course it doesn't help you with mini games, right? Like the mini games are still hard, or some of them at least are. I kind of wish they added like a mini game booster that just made it so that you would like get much higher score than normal or something like that. Something like just making the mini games easier, just for people that want to platinum the game and stuff like that. Like you shouldn't have to be insanely good at the mini games, right? Like make it so that gaining a high score in the mini game becomes easier. Maybe something that adds like a triple multiplier to the mini game or something like that, you know. So that even if you're really bad at the mini games, you can still like get everything, you know, stuff like that, like especially on hard difficulty, you know. Same thing with the music stuff in Final Fantasy. But something that I'm not very good at is at Queen's Blood. And I don't know that even if when you play the tutorial and you seem to have understanding, okay, this is what the card costs, so you want to kind of have like a mana curve like in Hearthstone. But then like I'm always supposed like, okay, why did that guy win now? Why can't I play any cards, you know, and stuff like that. It just seems weird. Okay, level 33. Coming right up. Level 33 is gonna be pretty huge. Level 33 coming! I'm curious how long it's gonna take for us to master the big doll. So 51 strength still. Yeah. 69 damage, nice. Nice. You're alright. And I actually really found that Final Fantasy 12 video so funny. I mean, I love Final Fantasy 12. I guess the thing, like the reason why I like Final Fantasy 12 is because I like MMOs. Because I wanted like, oh man, like I missed Final Fantasy 11, I never played it. And then I was like, oh man, like I got so angry like it because oh my god, you have to play it online and stuff like that. Like, and sure, I like World of Warcraft, I like World of Warcraft, Age of Conan, Warhammer, Black Reckoning. I still have that somewhere in one of these boxes things or whatever where I have the PC games and stuff that, you know, so many PC games, you know, and stuff that, right, you know. I've had so many MMOs, Rift, Guild Wars 1, Guild Wars 2, you know, the amount of MMOs I played is pretty crazy. So, you know, like people that want to say like, we have more MMO experience than you, nah. Okay, so I didn't play Dark Age of Camelot, but I played Ultima Online. Although passing that, Honor 56k more than and I got Ultima Online for free. I still hope I have that CD somewhere, you know, and stuff that I don't know whether I have that, you know. It's probably inside one of the stuff somewhere, you know, and stuff like that. And I managed to find my Space Quest 1 box, like the actual disc, stuff like that, like the Amiga 500 version. I believe that should be worth at least 20,000 Swedish kronor if I would sell it. But it's probably even worth more today because I have everything in the box. All the, like the instruction manual, the warranty, but it's the PAL version of the game. So I believe matters if not Amiga 500 because I saw what it was. I saw the guy played the Matei or whatever it's called, the friend of James Rolfe, that didn't get married. Stuff that like the friend of his, and he played Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles because that was the recording call, but it ran at the wrong speed because he's of course using it in an emulator, so he's not using like he's running a PAL game at the American speed, so he's running 60 Hz while the game is optimized for 50 Hz. Because I believe there is still a difference on the Amiga 500 the PAL games, even though they're technically on a floppy disk. I mean, not the true floppy disk, but 3.5 millimeter, right? The disk, the default standard from like discs. Not like those super large discs. They're like the true floppy disks that are actually floppy, you know, because they even older stuff. I mean, like the Commodore had those discs, I believe, for certain games. But then later on, even Commodore 64 got more modern and stuff that, you know. Finishing task, Cloro, you're a painter. Finishing task, I'm just gonna hell. What if that's what Final Fantasy VII is about? It's actually about painting, you know, and that's what Expedition 33 actually is, you know, and stuff like that, right? Imagine if the actual true story is not about, you know, like, oh, it's about, you know, God and stuff like that, right? You can say that Final Fantasy VII is about God because it is. Because if you understand what Sephiroth means, like with like Bible and the heaven and stuff like that, you know, and then you take Genova coming from the sky, yeah, that kind of sounds very much like a certain thing, you know, stuff like that. And then think about this, Tifa didn't exist for the longest time. Like Tifa was added very late in the production, and that is because people were gonna be pissed when Aerith died, because the only female that they would have had right was Yuffie. But Yuffie, I think, existed actually fairly early because Yuffie was meant to be the soldier that came after you that was then changed into Roarch in the remake. So Roarch's personality is what Yuffie's personality should have been. But imagine that, right? A world where the Roarch personality was in the original game on Yuffie because Yuffie was meant to be a soldier. First class, actually, I believe, not third class, actually. Pretty certain that Yuffie was actually meant to be a first class, and not a third class. Because that makes sense, right, why she's so cracked. But because think about her weapons, right? Not only does her weapons do absolutely massive damage, I know that a lot of people hate that character. Which is stupid, right? Because a lot of the people who hate certain characters in this, it has to do with wokeness, of course, 100%. Like, oh, you hate kids, yeah, you're woke. Oh, I'm sorry, but that is true. You know, that is just true, you know. That's just true, you know. Now, if we would record for several hours, right, because we can only record a maximum of 1 hour, which I still think is stupid, right, like, please Sony, you know, please somehow make it so that you can do longer recordings, please. You know, like 2 hours would be completely fine in my opinion, right, because it's just that 1 hour is very short. Now, I would love, of course, because if it would be possible to record, for example, 6 hours, say you could record for 6 hours, yes, I know that abuse would say that, oh, but then the chance of a game crashing would be very, very hard because of like memory leaks and stuff like that, sure. But, you know, I mean, imagine like recording 6 hours, yes, the file size would probably get huge in certain games. But I mean, at least for like old games like this, like be able to record like for about 7-6 hours because, you know, and the next hour. Barrett's so mad. Fruit slice. Yeah, so yeah, 56,000 now. 5, yeah. It's gonna be curious though, how long will it take for us to get 100,000? Like, it's gonna be fun, right, with the whole map thing. Like, okay, like how long does it take to get to 1 million gil? Whatever it is, like, what is it? 1,400,000, right, is what all materials sell for. Just the interesting thing is, of course, is depending on what Grindspot we do. Right, yes, I am going to be doing the other Grinspots as well, you know, it's like that, you know. As well, but the goal is basically only to grind until we reach the maximum hour on a spot and not grind till 99, even though this is called a level 99 grind. You know, it's just that after the grind it becomes but it of course depends on how far I get in those 99 hours. I mean, if we're over level 50, right, or like let's say we're level 60 or level 70 even, so we're like halfway through, then like 99 hours aren't that bad. Or like what is it? It would be 100 hours because it's 99 hours, like 59 minutes, right? And like 59 seconds, I think is maximum timer. I mean, I would have loved it if they added so it could go above 100 or whatever, right? Because then the progress would be much easier to tell, you know. Because if you think about certain things, right, like would I say that grinding level 99 in the first sector is worth it? No. But for example, like, I think most casual people would have no problem grinding 10 hours. And because we haven't reached 10 hours yet, and I haven't done things optimally because at first I didn't grind only at this place, I grinded at several different places and stuff like that, but yeah. One thing, of course, that will be huge will, of course, be getting the assault gun for Barrett. Now the question is, should there be a way to reset the timer or go above the timer and not the bomb exploding, not getting game over if the time runs out? Imagine if there were a way to make it so that we could fight Gold Scorpion, but then when the alarm is going or whatever, right, we could still do fights, still use grind and stuff like that, right? Yeah, maybe that's what we wanted to be doing. once we get close enough. But you would basically need to be level 99 before you start doing that. But imagine if it was something you could do to prevent bomb from going off, or when the timer reaches 0 it doesn't reset. Because I'm pretty certain there is a way to change the state of the timer, right? So it's always 0, but it doesn't give you a game over. It just is stuck at 0. It never gives you the game over screen or something like that. I think that is possible. Because I think you load a certain save file. I think it is that you load whatever from another disk, I think, maybe even. Okay, wow, he's almost at, yeah. He has 53 strength now. His defense is not as high. Even though he has bronze bangle, his magic attack is a lot lower, of course, obviously. Lord is only slightly faster than Barrett, which is crazy. Barrett is way more tanky there, so you can see by default. Oh, that's a big fault. Yeah, it's a big fall, alright. So the cool thing is, once he maxes out his level, then you know, yes, and certain characters will of course reach max level earlier and stuff like that, right? And the cool thing in some of the grinds, by the way, like the character that will reach level 99 will be other characters, of course, obviously. Because obviously, right, in order to do like certain grinds optimally, right, you wanna have certain characters, you know, and stuff like that, right? Because theoretically, right, you could go all the way up to what is it when you escape from the prison cells. No, not really, because when you escape from the prison cells, right, then you cannot go back down, you cannot go back to that grind spot, right? I mean, theoretically you can, but then the enemy changes. But aren't those enemies better to grind? I need to actually do that in the Shina building, I think, because I think that those enemies are worth more experience than the solely third class, because that encounter is more rare. Oh, the music died. I was like, huh? Because 98, right? So it's almost 100 XP from a fight at the best. And the best encounter was 13 points, of course, obviously. But yeah, getting material, of course, getting the level 3 versions of the things is going to take quite a while. This is the 98 XP. You have to think that 10 fights is 980. 10 fights, 100 fights would be... Yeah, 10 fights would be 980. 100 fights would be 9,800. So, you know, 9,800 is way more than you need for a level right now. So that means 100 fights basically is a level pretty much up to a certain point once you reach black, you know. So the quicker you can do 100 fights, the better, of course, obviously. But you won't always get that encounter, of course, obviously, as well, you know. But yeah. It's gonna be interesting though, how long it's gonna take us to reach 100,000 gil. Because we're not even at 60,000 yet. Of course, this here, the 30 ethers, of course, we are gonna max out ethers for like 100%. So the Phoenix Down, technically you can get Phoenix Downs if I remember correctly. I don't think you can get grenades right in the first reactor. I don't think anything got grenades. I'm pretty certain though that the sweepers very rarely can drop a certain thing. But I forgot what it is that the sweepers can drop. level 33. Because I mean the next Grinspots is course at the 50 reactor, and yes, the 50 reactor is technically a better Grinspot. And yes, you also have 3 characters instead in that Grinspot. Which you might say is way more optimal and stuff than having 3 characters in that Grinspot. And then after that, of course, is the train graveyard Grinspot, which is interesting because at that point you can get striking staff for Eric and stuff like that, you know. And I would have loved if they would have placed a save point near the place before the 5th reactor. I would have guided those red grunt enemies there and stuff like that, you know. But that armor there on that place is very, very loud, of course, which is the main annoying part. And keep in mind that the growth you get to level 40 is pretty massive. Same thing with, of course, once you reach level 50, you will have like very, very high HP compared to now. And of course, cash-wise, we don't get a lot of cash calls, obviously. Now, one thing they could have done, of course, which would have been really cool, is that yes, he would have worked as a merchant or something like that, you know. I would be like, oh, we'll reach this level, or be like, oh, Claude, I offer you a quest or something like that, and then Claude, like, collect these from these enemies, like, collect these sweeper parts, collect some parts from these grounds, the flowers and stuff like that, and I can open up a shop and I can sell you stuff, you know. And maybe Biggs could even sell weapons here. Because the cool thing about the remake, of course, is that there are unique weapons that are unique to the remake that's not from the original game, which I do appreciate and stuff. Like the iron sword for Claude is like just completely original and stuff. And the hard edge is very, very different compared to the original game. Same thing even with the mythical saber looks very, very different and stuff like that as well. Pause. Just need to drink some more. Enemy sighted. That's all okay, good. So we're soon gonna reach the end of the recording, by the way. And I don't know what part of the Grindspot this will be, what part it will be, right, you know. Maybe I will just call it like level 99 grind update, you know, or whatever, right? I mean, technically, level 99 grind is what it will not be. But I mean, depends, right? Because we are running with the 3 times speed, of course. So that does mean that you need 3 times as short time. Because if it's 3 times as short time, right, then like maybe level 99 will be like, and maybe level 99 will be. Because it doesn't make the timer run faster, it doesn't run 3 times as fast, you know. So maybe, you know, maybe because you do steps more often means you get encounters more often. Or I kind of wish there would be something that would just make you get more encounters that you could activate instead. And I would love an auto booster in this. Like basically there should be an auto booster for like basically what it would do, it would double the AP you get So that basically it would make it so that all weapons count as being double AP weapons, but then double AP weapons would give you quadruple then and stuff that. And then it would be another booster that it should be like basically they should be so you could toggle twice. So, or you could toggle between no AP boost, 2 times AP, which is basically double material growth or triple and stuff that. And then for example, if you use the triple one and then you have the triple AP weapons, then you would gain like 6 times the AP. Because I feel like that would make certain material grinds more easily. Because even if you fight the material balls, getting Kotor to max level takes a long time. It's not a quick grind at all. And stuff that was just something, you know, and stuff that, but yeah. But of course, getting the morph material takes a while, of course, because you need to get all the way to Temple of Ancients, of course. Get morph. Although I'm pretty certain if you miss morph, right, then you always get more morph. Because there are certain things, of course, that are missable that you can dig up in home village and stuff that, but yeah. I'm pretty certain there's a shop later that sells morph. Same thing if you would miss steel. Although I'm pretty certain it's impossible not to pick up steel. Because I'm pretty certain that steel is technically the way that you need to basically get past it, and it blocks the way, I think. Like we ever do a steel run in this where the only gear that we're allowed is the stuff that you can steal? This question. Did I ever do a thief run? No. A thief run would of course mean that yes, you can use all the stuff that's up from enemies as well. Like a scavenger run. No. Because I mean that would mean that you cannot buy from any shop and stuff that means that the way you get the items are from grinding enemies or from morphing enemies or from stealing, you know, and stuff that, right? Claude is pretty close, we might actually have it. I wonder how long it would take for Claude to get over 300 MP and stuff there, because yeah, because of course Bolt 3 and Ice 3 is pretty expensive MP wise. The cool thing though is that Gar Scorpion right dies in, I think would die to 1 Bolt 3 actually. So it's 59,000, almost not 60,000 now. Yeah, so the money isn't going up that super quickly, but if you think about the other amount of eaters we have, that's pretty insane. I don't know technically if this is the encounter that gives you the most money as well. So it gives you how much? It gives you 54 gil. So it's 540 from 10 encounters and 5,400 from 100 encounters. And eventually we need to get to do 100 encounters for a single level eventually. Once we need, what is it, the 9,800. Once you need 9,800 to level up, then you will need 100 encounters for a single level up. And imagine once it starts taking like 6 hours for a level up or whatever, right? You know, but yeah. I mean, when would I say you would stop, right? Maybe once it starts taking 1 hour for level up, but that also depends on how big the growth is, of course, how much stronger the character gets on that single level, you know, so that's it. So anyway, we're going to continue on in the next part, which is in 30 seconds, of course. But we're going to get very, very close to the level up here. Come, yeah, actually, I'm going to go back down to the save. and save here before we do the next one, the next recording session here. So in slot 4, saving here.